Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club, your number one stop for stellar reviews of volumes, arcs, or stories that us or yourselves choose. You can find us live every Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and the replay on all podcast networks. Take a seat, get yourselves and your opinions ready, as it's time to join the herd. But first, please put your hands together for your hosts, Shane, Phil, and Scott, as they kick off this week's discussion. Hello everyone, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. My name is Scott. You can tell it's me by a very strong Welsh accent. I am joined by my good friends. I've got Philip.
Hello.
And I got Shane.
Hoi hoi.
Same guys every week. I love it. I love seeing you guys every week. It's so good. This week it's my pick, so that means we'll have the least amount of viewers for the wave because I always pick weird books. We are talking about King of Spies by Image Comics. This is a one and done. It's 4 issues long, so we're just talking about those 1 to 4 issues. Written by Mark Millar, art by Matteo Scalera, colors by Giovanna Nero, and letters by Clem Robbins as well. Just want to say hi to everyone first. We got a few people in the chat so far. We have Martin, evening all. Evening, Martin. How you doing? Liam's here. Howdy ho. Howdy hi. And Connie's here as well. Sup, nerds. Kevin has reached out and messaged saying he couldn't make it today, but he has sent us a score as well. So that'll be good to see later. But I should give you a little bit of a synopsis. This story focuses on a spy named Roland King. Thank you. I'm terrible at names. Focuses on Roland King, a former MI5 spy agent, whatever you want to call it. He had retired but was still working on like freelance for the government, for the agency, for the man, and finds out he has cancer and 6 months left to live. He then really reflects back on his life and how he treated his family and the kind of jobs that he did, and decided to take it upon himself to right the world from all of the things he may have helped to corrupt that world. You see him going after all sorts of very large and political and well-known people, and it's just collateral damage from page 1 all the way up until the end. This is a very cool story, but I will say now, bit of a trigger warning, bit of a gory book. If you're a bit squeamish with that kind of stuff, we will be showing some pages that do have some gore, some body bits. So do keep that in mind if you are watching the show. If you're on the podcast, it doesn't matter. So yes,
we'll describe them in all their gory detail just for you.
It'll be glorious. But yes, thank you very much. But yeah, there we go. I think that's the introduction done quite speedily, I might add. And we'll head over to Shane. Kick us off, please. What did you think initially of King of Spies?
I bloody love this book. This was a rollicking good time from start to finish. It's everything I want in a book. Least of all, obviously, a start, a middle, and an end, which was just icing on the cake. It was absolutely fantastic. Just from the action to the reasoning behind it, you know, it wasn't just mindless violence. It made perfect sense why this man decided to do what he did. Everything made perfect sense. He wasn't an idiot. There was no stupid, nothing in this book made you go, why is that there? Everything was just done so well. And for 4 issues, I had no idea this was only 4 issues. It felt so much longer because I read it in a trade, so it didn't really cut to show like the covers and stuff. So I had to go back and like at the end of the book, it shows you there's 4 covers. I was like, this was only 4 issues. It felt so much. It was so full. Absolutely fantastic. Like you nailed it, Scott. You did it. You
Oh,
did it.
I picked a good pick. Can I?
Did it.
Does that mean I'm done now? I don't have to come back anymore.
You,
Done.
you got your book out of the way early in the year, so you're done now. You can rest for the rest of the
I
year.
can sit now. Great, nice, happy days. Well, I didn't think you would not like this book, but I didn't think you would give it that much praise.
Oh,
So
fantastic! Everything I want in a book.
I'm
Everything.
very pleased. Thank you very much, Phil. Bring me down.
I think I should. I'm not going to. This is a really cool story. I mean, as Shane said, it's about time you picked one. It's only been 138 episodes. But
You've counted
well done.
how many episodes?
The quick math in my head, I could be way off. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
But I mean, it's really cool. I really liked it. It's definitely one of those ones that if this was like a Netflix movie for a 2-hour action movie,
yeah,
it's a popcorn movie. You would just enjoy it, and that's it. Like, it doesn't have to be anything more than what it is. I still think it's still very surface level. There's still a bit of depth missing in the whole characterizations and things and the story overall. And a lot of things are just kind of like things that just happen one after the other. But they don't. It's not that they don't. It's not that they do not make sense. They all make sense, but it's still quite quick and speedily and stuff. But again, we always say before, like, you cannot discount how much of a joy you have on a read and how much fun you have. And this was a riot. It was a ride. It was good. I enjoyed it.
great, brilliant. Well, that's it. Thank you very much.
Now.
I'm done. I'm going. Yeah,
What did you think of it, Scott?
Oh, mate. So this isn't my first time reading it. This is my second time reading it. But it was the kind of thing. This book really attracted me. When I go through the kind of stuff I want to pre-order and read, in the future, the fact that it was 4 issues, that really attracted me, because I've read many like really good, just one and done stories. I think another one that comes to my head is The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. Really love that book. But stuff like this, I like a bit of spy. It was based in Britain, and it just sounded mental from start to finish. And I was really excited. This was one of the very few books that when I receive after pre-ordering it, I read it straight away. I was really excited for it, and I wasn't let down at all. Usually the book to pre-order, they just sit on the shelf and they're in the queue. But this, I was like, no, this sounds sick. This sounds awesome. I want to read this. I want to get into it. And I did, and I don't regret it, and I'm really glad I picked it for the hood. Yeah, it's just so much happens, and it's just start to finish, very, very good. The only type of people I don't think that would like it are the ones who are a bit sensitive to goriness and that kind of thing.
Like, we have discussed this before about the gore. Like, we don't like certain types of gore, but it's not so much like the bloody limbs. You see, it's more along the lines of like Hotel. It was like a man cutting his wife up. It isn't that level of gore and sinister sickness, if you know what I mean. No, but yes, you do see things, but it's not the same idea. It's like
he parachutes and throws a guy into helicopter blades.
Yeah, but that's
not the
okay.
same thing as a wife's face dripping off a ceiling in a hotel room.
Again, it's not the wife's face, it's the fact that his husband cut it up, or her husband cut that up. So that's the problem I have of gore. It's not so much like you see the blood, you see the limbs. It's more like the way it was done and the reasons why it was done. This was an action movie, an action comic. So you're going to get gore.
So had he thrown his wife into helicopter blades, you'd have been okay with that. The fact that he did it with a hand knife.
Yeah, essentially, yes. I mean, he what was the word? Pre whatever, to kill his wife. But this was just like he had to survive. He was parachuting from a plane. Yes, he blew them up. One survived, held his ankle, and he had to get rid of him, or else he was going to die. That was a life and death moment. He had no choice but to throw that individual through the helicopter blades. So that level of gore is okay. It's the way it's done I have the problem with. I do kind of want to bring you down slightly, though. I mean, I know we've praised the book highly, but there are some negatives of the book.
Okay,
let's be honest.
I can take it.
And some of the negatives I have is with the art. So Matteo Scalera Like the art looks like on the action scenes looks really good, and even in the non-action scenes, there's a lot of detail stuff in the background. Everything's drawn really well. But I did find sometimes that there are certain characters had really lanky legs and feet. They just ran. I should have taken a screenshot, but like their limbs are a little bit weird in certain poses, you know.
Mate, if
And
that's the only nitpick you have, I'm fine.
and the fact that one of the scenes, what's his name, Roland King, he's standing there with a gun or something, and he looks like Jack Napier from Batman White Knight. If you've ever read White Knight, it's the same character. They literally draw the exact same. And Matteo Scalera has done one of the White Knight books, the Harley Quinn book. So I don't know what came first. I'm not sure if Harley Quinn came first or this came first, but you can definitely see the same character in both books. And things like that kind of annoy me slightly. Just because he looked exactly the same. He looked like Jack Napier from Batman White Knight in his younger days, I should say.
The whole art style, that's one of my notes. It does. It looks like Sean Murphy's White Knight. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Again, that's interesting to know, though. Yeah.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something you pick up on. I kind of think to myself, you could have done something different with that slightly.
Yeah, but some artists are known for their faces. Like, you know, Michael Turner, his faces. All the females have the same face. You can tell who they are, but they all have the same face. Like the men, you know, the Dodsons, their faces are all very similar. Dan Mora, their faces, you know, they're gorgeous faces. It's, you know, but they have a style of doing a face, so that's how you identify an artist. But I love the art in this. I just, especially the action scenes with the blurs and it felt like it was moving. Like my eyes saw it moving.
It's what I wrote. I said,
"Am I reading your notes, Scott?"
You are. You get out of my book. I've essentially written the motion and the perspective used in some of the, you know, the fast looking or the moving looking panels was brilliant. You know, especially the one that comes to mind is when he first starts to fall out of the plane, and you've kind of got that like upward, you know, left or right angle kind of going up, and it's really cool. And the one a bit after that, then when he finally gets rid of the man trying to stop him from opening his parachute, and you get that panel where he's like opening up his shirt as if he's like Superman getting his parachute ready. It's so cool. Let's say a quick hi to Highland G. Hey everyone, hey buddy. And Martin has said there wasn't a dull moment in this story. That's great. Yeah. Considering this is the man who reads along every week. I'm really happy with that. But Connie may have some interesting opinions. She disagrees. She says this was 10 times gorier than Hotel. You literally see his eyeball disconnected from his skull. I'm assuming she means at the end.
Spoilers.
And Highland G as well is saying White Knight is just Officer Dent. Brackets Tokyo Ghost to me. Depends what you read first. It does depend what you read first. If I now read White Knight, then I'm going to say, wait a minute, that's Roland King.
No, you're not. You're going to say, wait, that's Pierce Brosnan.
Because
this is Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, but I noticed that there were quite a few different like arty techniques used. I want to say techniques. So, you know, you had really like scratchy lines for motion in the paneling in the background of the panels, which I thought was really cool. You had especially when you were in Britain, you had charcoal was kind of used for the sky, like the gloomy grey sky of London and all that. You had some really nice painted looking panels for like some flashback scenes, and then you even had like a little bit of a watercolor bit towards the end. You know, and that's apart from, you know, the normal art style that was used throughout the whole book. So I think, you know, kudos to the guy to fit so many different types of techniques and styles within 4 issues.
Yeah.
Again, if there's a reason, I suppose there is a reason for that, because they represent different things. Like the panel you talked about in London, I actually picked that as my page, and we'll talk about that in more detail shortly. But it was very different than some of the other pages, and I think he just wants those to stand out more, like so the flashbacks. So you can kind of, if people are a bit jarred by the difference in art, it's done for the right reasons, for an artistic reason, I suppose.
Yeah, it's more to really, like, you may just be reading this all and just noticing the art like subconsciously, but then when the art style changes, you are making like a conscious effort to notice that it's changed. And I think it's those kind of things that may then stick in your mind a bit more.
Yeah, like when it starts, the color palette is washed out a little bit more. It's a little bit more monotoned because it's the 90s.
Yeah.
So then when they flash back again, they don't have to tell you it's the 90s because you remember the color scheme from the previous flashback.
Yeah, totally.
So it's done so well.
So I mentioned Pierce Brosnan there, and obviously Millar is connected with Netflix, obviously the Millar world and stuff. So, and I'm surprised Shane loved as much as he did, because he's definitely one of those ones. He said before he hates the idea of comics being made for a movie or a TV show. This is 100% written for Netflix, live action movie.
Yeah, well,
the fact that
on the side of the book there, it's even got Netflix down there on the side of the book.
Yeah, so it just tells me that maybe I'm not saying Pierce Brosnan's going to do it, but I think Mark Millar himself has this in his mind, who he would like to play this role if there is a movie down the line.
I don't have an issue with this kind. It's when it's a continuing story and you can tell they're just set up as episodes. If this was written, as the script for a movie, that's fine because you can enjoy it as a comic. But when they do it with the single issues and they've got like maybe 20, 30 issues planned, you can tell that it is just designed for the first 4 episodes will be the first part of season 1, and then this will be the second part of season 1, and it's just so off-putting. You can notice it so easily now. I think it's the abundance of Netflix shows to comic books that it's just incredibly noticeable, and I didn't notice that in this. I don't think it was until I was flicking through the back pages and I saw the Netflix thing and I was like, okay. But that's by then I'd already enjoyed the book, so I didn't care.
So you didn't know this at all until the end?
No, I don't do any. If I haven't heard of the book, I won't do any research because I like to go in blind and just, enjoy it for what it is. I don't want to be tainted by anyone's review or anything like that.
Yeah, cool. Okay, great. So we're going to go into some pages now. So again, if there's any new viewers from between the start and now, we do have a trigger warning. You will see some gory bits going on. So let's go ahead and get to our pages. Okay, so who shall we start with? Let's go for Phil.
Yeah, so this is one of the pages you'd mentioned about being a slightly different technique, or it just it stood out from the other stuff. But there were quite a few I could have picked. Some of them were already picked before I got here on StreamYard, so I had no choice. But I screenshot as I go along, and I just kind of pick from there. And again, if you're an OG of the Nerd Herd, I love a bit of atmosphere, a bit of rain. And we have that here, but just the idea that you have like the black taxi and the lights, the brake lights, and the ripples and the rain. I just love the reflections of it. I just love the feeling of this. It's dark and gloomy, but like I feel like I would like to walk down this street, whatever street this is. I don't know, but yeah, it just really stood out for me. And I love detail whenever they go into a lot of detail when they don't need to, but he does it quite well where not everything stands out, because it kind of blends into each other. So it doesn't have to stand out directly, if you know what I'm trying to say. And then you also have that kind of perspective going down the street. And I just think that it just looks cool. It's just a really cool page. But
perfect way to tell you where you are as well,
Exactly. I mean, if you don't know what Big Ben is, I mean, you're really lost then. Yeah.
You've got rain, you got Big Ben, you got a London taxi, you got people wearing long coats. Mate, you're in London.
Yeah. I mean, Jack the Ripper. You just need Jack the Ripper poking his head out, and there'd be no doubt as to where you were.
But this is what I mean by like detail. Like you don't see the people's faces, you don't see too many things in the background, but the way it uses the light and stuff to blend all that in, we don't need that detail. I just thought it was really cool page.
Yeah. That page would go really well in a horror book as well. It would fit perfectly in a horror story. Yeah. Hotel London edition.
That'd be cool, wouldn't it? Yeah, I'd love that.
You're in London, yeah.
Okay, Shane, we'll come to you last because you've actually got the same page as a viewer. So we'll do that. So yeah, my pick then. This is in issue 2 when you've got the that blind sniper. That's a concept that blew my mind. Blind sniper and his son. After they've done the job, I think Roland assigned this job to them. Am I right in saying that? To kill off those 2 ex-prime ministers? Or was that just another random job?
No, that was his job.
Yeah.
That's what I took from it. That's how I took it. He wanted these 2 prime ministers dead himself, but he employed this guy to do it. And then obviously he then knew where he was going to be to then attack him like this.
Yeah. But so after that whole job was done, the floor from underneath them kind of explodes and just falls apart. And I just love seeing all like the cracks of explosion and light coming through the floor, and you can see all the floor like curling up or curling down, I guess, depends on how you think what's going on. And it's just great. And then again, the panel at the bottom, just the perspective there, you know, you're looking up through this building, through this tower, wherever they are. I just love it. Just that kind of perspective. And it just shows like the top panel, just so much movement and things like that going on with the explosion. This isn't the most, eye-opening page there, but this I stayed here for a while. I think looking at this.
Cool.
It shows how cool Roland is as well.
So cool.
I wish they didn't kill that guy though. He was cool. I liked him. Forget his name now, but I liked him a lot. The fact that he could kill anyone from anywhere type of thing. It's like he's a good tool. Keep that. Utilize that.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I think about you. Not joking. And then Shane. Then so your page matches with Martin's page. Again, last chance for trigger warning, guys. This is the picture.
This is what we spoke about earlier. Roland jumps out of the plane and he's trying to deploy his parachute when one of the guys from the plane jumps out and grabs him, and he just won't let him go. And then Roland spots the helicopter and he just shit whips this guy into it, and it's amazing. I absolutely thought it was fantastic. It's coming when you see the helicopter. You're like, oh, but you don't expect them to show that much detail. Like he's still holding on to the guy's arms.
That's a bit that tickles me. Yeah,
the guy is just everywhere. It's just fantastic. And yeah, like you said, Scott, with him opening his shirt at the bottom, like that could be like a depowered Clark, 50 years from now.
Yeah,
he's just like taking over from Batman or something, and he is now just so cool. Look at him. So cool.
I love the way I also picked this page. Of course, I was already on the stream before I got here, but like obviously the random foot just floating away. There's I assume it's an eyeball or something. Looks really big, but still an eyeball.
Yeah.
And there's some sort of other organ. Maybe it's a heart or brain or something in the air. It's just like, like that kind of gore is okay. I like that. It's just when it's horror based, I suppose, but that's okay because he was a bad guy.
He was a bad guy. So Martin chose that page. He said, "This is my favorite page simply because of how he killed the bodyguard and all the blood splatter from the propellers. So cool.
So cool.
So cool." We had 2 more pages as well then. We had this one from Connie. This was the page after the one we've just seen. She hasn't given a reason, but this is her page.
It's got to be for what he says, surely. Like as he's landing, he's like, "My body hurts, everything hurts." He's like, "But I feel like I'm 25 again," and he's just like loving it every second of it.
This guy's so great, and it's just a hell of a mood in that last panel as well. That bottom panel there, he's just standing there in the pond or lake or whatever he's in, and the parachute is just draped around him, and he's just all of his hair and his beard just soaking. He just looks grumpy, and it's just hell of a mood. Yeah, it's great, man. But yeah, no reason from Connie. She just loved it. That's her favorite page.
Those little bits around him, do you think that's part of the guy's body? I never really thought about that. It's got to be like his clothing or something, yeah.
Well, I thought maybe it was his shirt because his shirt was white and then he's not wearing a white shirt in this page. Mm-hmm. So I thought maybe he kind of got ripped apart maybe, or maybe it's that guy. Yeah. And then our final page pick then was from Kev, our resident artist. He says, I really like the action in this book, and I think the color palette used is great. Also, I look forward to seeing Pierce Brosnan play King if they ever make a film. Yeah, so there we go. This is his page where he's had enough of the Russian people, and he takes matters into his own hands in the bathroom before he leaves. Yeah. There we go. So yeah, thank you very much for sending your pages in. If you ever read along in the future and you want to give us a page, then feel free. But there we go. So yeah, okay. Writing now then. What did you think, Philip?
This is where I kind of have the fault overall. Like, I know Shane says this is everything he wants in the book, but I feel like there's something missing. I think this is all quite surface level, good fun action, but I did feel there was enough depth in the characters, and I thought everything was quite easy. Like, you know, again, he has cancer, he's 6 months to live, and he wants to correct the wrongs he's done in the past, but like, why? Do you know what I mean? Like, there was no real reason that I found sufficient enough for this guy who's been killing people for 40 years or whatever it was. And then even it comes like this the idea of the son, like two issues before the last one, the son was shooting at him from a helicopter trying to kill him, and all of a sudden now he's like, okay, Dad, I'll look after Mum. Do you know what I mean? It's just everything was like too quick to happen. But I get 4 issues, limited series, they need to fit it all in. But that's where I felt like they couldn't add too much depth in the story because they didn't have the time. But part of me still thinks I wish we had something else added in there. And the hot take, I actually find Roland King really unlikable. Like, like the story's cool and I like it, but I just find him unlikable. I don't know why. I can't quite grasp it. Like I didn't care about him dying. I was okay with it, and you seen it coming as well.
Yeah, I mean, you knew he was going to be the final monster when he said, I've got to kill the big monster. It was obviously him because he was the biggest, baddest dog in the field, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But I think, you know, growing up with James Bond, you know, the alpha male, the guy who always gets the girl, he just beats the bad guys with ease, uses his wits. Right at the beginning in the 90s flashback, that's what you see. You're watching James Bond. You're watching him in his prime. Gets up on that plane, jumps out of another plane to get into a plane for his cocky little one-liner, beats the bad guys, gets the girl. Absolutely fantastic. I'm like, I am in. That is a great way to start the book. That's a great way to start a movie because then you have the title card and then you get the movie going. And it's fantastic. And then you see him as he's old. And now he's like, you think, oh, he's calmed down. You know, he's retired now. Maybe he's training the next. Yeah, you're like, he's an old man. What can he do? And then you see him go into the bathroom with 4 Russian guys and beat the snot out of them like they're nothing.
Yeah.
And I thought it's fantastic. I thought that was just, this is what I want. I want to be entertained in my comic books. I don't want to be preached at. I don't want to be told off. I don't want to be spoken down to. And I don't want a bunch of mindless stuff put in there just because they wanted a 6-issue run instead of 4 issues. You know, they wanted a 4-issue run. They wanted to entertain you for all 4 issues. And that's what they did. And yes, some things felt a little bit rushed, but I think the way it was rushed was quite smart. Like Atticus at the end, you know, turning over a new leaf and going back to see his mum. I think that might have been a bit rushed, but it's the way his dad spoke to him at the end. You know, he'd shot at him and tried to kill him an issue before, but as soon as he was in trouble, Roland went to save him. He gave himself up for his son. Yeah. So his son saw that side of him, and then he gave him the speech. You know, yeah, it might have been a trap, but I had to kill the final monster. I'm the final monster. And he did that in front of his son. And I think that was what made his son go, right, this isn't the world for me. I can't just go around doing this because look what it did to my dad. That's going to be me in 30 years if I don't do something. So I think it was done as well as they could do it in 4 issues. I was satisfied with it.
The only part where I kind of felt, when I say felt for him, I relate to this, by the way, but I definitely felt for him on a more human level is whenever he was with the, I'm terrible with names, the girl, and he couldn't get it up. He couldn't rise on the occasion.
Fatima.
Yeah, so he couldn't perform. Like, that's the point we think, right, he actually has some sort of weakness. He's went there, he's hurt. He still thinks he could, tread on every woman, and he still can. Technically, it wasn't hard, but that's the point. It wasn't hard. So he couldn't complete the task, and that's what it was quite funny. He's like, "Yeah, well, you're getting old. You're 65, whatever you are. Yeah, that's cool. I like that." But I just felt overall they didn't do enough things like that to kind of make you kind of care for him. I think Liam said there he's meant to be unlikable, and he is. He's a bad guy essentially. You may think or people who are employing him to do the good usually are the bad guys, and I get it, but I didn't buy into the quick change of heart.
Yeah. Well,
it's just, I mean, if you had 6 months to live, I'd rather just try and just relax.
It wasn't a change of heart, though, was it? Sorry, Scott.
No.
It wasn't a change of heart. He still wanted to brutalize people and kill them. He just decided to flip the script and kill the people that deserve it, rather than people that his bosses wanted him to kill.
So
but I think, I bought the change of heart because, at the end of the day, he has cancer. I think if anyone knows that they have a finite amount of time left, they're going to change their tune, no matter if they're good or bad. They may just swing the other way, I think. So, I totally see where everything he was doing was coming from. I thought it was quite justified, and everything with his son, and he's getting his, regrets from how he, what he did to his older wife, and how he treated his son, and his other daughter that he had as well that he'd never met, never met, and things like that. But I thought it was brilliant, especially when we get the flashbacks in the form of his episodes. I thought that was a really clever way to show us his past while keeping in the action scenes. One of them, he was on the car when he was getting shot at by his son, wasn't he? And he's like, "Oh no, not now, not now!" And as he's on this bonnet of a car, just has this flashback, and I like that because it's a really quick way of telling you, like, this is how he's feeling. This is where his mind is going to at the moment. This is a little bit of his past that we're getting into. There's not really much dialogue, but it's just you can tell what's going on in that moment, and then straight back to the action. And I really like that. Nice little segue. If people were finding the action was too much, then it was a nice way to have it broken up.
The action, to be fair, like you could say it was too much, but it did also continue through the whole book. But there was parts of it were like the type of action you don't usually see, or like a bit of a twist. Like, for example, whenever Atticus was sleeping with a man, and he was panicking because his wife was coming through the door. He's like, "Yeah, I know he is. She's the target," and shot her. And then the next scene, he shoots the man through the bed. You see the two bullets go through the bed. You see his wife laying on the floor. Like, that stuff's all cool. There's no question. Like, it had loads of cool moments, and I think that's obviously a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing because they focused a lot on those cool moments as opposed to telling not a more coherent, it's the more beefier story. I just think the whole Atticus thing, I didn't like him at all. I really hated him as a character, and even towards the end of his thing, going back after his mom, I just thought it was a bit meh. I would prefer him die in the explosion.
That did throw me off.
No, I think that was to show that he's not going to end up like his dad, is he? He's not going to go around shagging everything with a pulse. He's going to calm down now and be a better person. But going back to like his change of heart, like, a big part of that is that he's now a grandfather, and now he has someone to leave the world to.
Yeah.
Like when it was just him and his horrible son that he didn't really care about, and his daughter that he doesn't see or anything, like he didn't have anything to leave anyone. But now he's got a grandson. He has to leave that grandson a better world than he has. So his change of heart can be, it can be explained.
Yeah, like,
but was it only because of the cancer?
Well, that was the ticking clock. Like every movie, every TV show needs a ticking clock. It needs a reason for something to happen. So if it wasn't that, it would have been, they could have changed it to his daughter was pregnant, So he had to do it before the baby was born because he wanted the baby born in a different world. So you can use anything as a ticking clock. They just decided to do this. And the reason they decided to do this is because they didn't want the death scene at the end to be like, oh my God, you killed off this amazing character. And it was like, no, we told you in book 1, he's going to die anyway. So the shock isn't like, oh my God, Roland's dead. You could have used him in like 20 more volumes. They're like, no, he's dying.
Yeah, he just didn't die the way that we thought he would.
Exactly. So he was always going to die. So killing him off a month early, that's not really a big oh my God moment.
Yeah.
I think though, like again, the part where he gave the daughter, I'm assuming money, because he said buy a toy or something, whatever it was. Like, I feel like that should have been a part where, like, give a letter, and she opens it later on. Like, it was your dad. Here's the key to like a room or something or whatever. And
he left her a typewriter.
Yes, I know, but like, not like what's that fetch for on eBay? Like, he didn't. Do you know what I mean? I don't know whether to be a writer. But it's like, it just
give
felt
a man
like
a fish, and he'll give a woman a typewriter. She'll write books and feed herself for a lifetime.
No, but I just think like, surely he would have had like a safe house, he would have had an exit plan, and here's the key to the house type of thing. You know, obviously had the boat, and that was the kind of dream, wasn't it? To live in the boat or whatever. But I just feel like, you know, I'm sure she's probably thinking, I want to flip an iPad or an iMac. I don't want to flip a typewriter. You know, it's 2021 here. It's not 1974.
He said he wanted to keep her out of that world. And if all of a sudden she gets, you know, £1 million in her account, she's going to start asking questions, and that could be a dangerous thing. Give her a typewriter. She's not going to call, oh, someone's left a typewriter in my house. Send the police.
Give her a typewriter. She's like, what would I buy her flipping ink to use this? You know, it's just, I just felt like that's interesting. Like, it was a cool moment, a nice part where he gave her something that meant something to him. It would mean something to her. I get it. But like, logically, like, it doesn't really work. It's not efficient. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just where just added it more to it, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just picking up things.
Maybe. Going back to the very end, then, where Atticus, you know, turns his life around and goes off to spend, you know, go on holiday or something with mum and spread the ashes of Roland and all this. I thought that was nice, but I think, you know, this book is a rush, but in a good way. But I thought that was the only bit where, you know, he turned around a bit too quick, I think. Maybe I wish that maybe there was a bit of a inner monologue with the guy, just so we have that some sort of transition from, this is what happened, I really don't want this anymore, I'm going to go, you know, make things right myself and heal my relationship with my mum. But the only thing that really, really bothered me, and it's probably nothing, is the fact that he changed cigarettes.
Yeah.
From whatever he was smoking,
Pall Mall,
back to Cobbs. And he's like, King has always smoked Cobbs. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, you didn't even, you didn't like
he was
your
only
dad,
smoking
you know?
Pall Malls to be spiteful, wasn't he? Because they were like, I thought King smoked Cobbs, and he's like, I smoke Pall Malls. See, he's like,
I think his turnaround would have worked better had, for example, in the scene where he was shooting at him through the was it a tunnel that we're in, wasn't it? Yeah. And obviously Roland got away. If, say, one of the officers had said, I heard him, I'd done something about whatever, or called him a bad name, and maybe he'd have thought, that's over the line, he's mine type of thing, and maybe kills him or hits him or whatever. Like, so you'd know a few issues earlier that Atticus actually does feel something. Like, so you mentioned the cigarettes, he obviously is spiteful, so there's something there that he feels about it. Do you know what I mean? So just add more things like this throughout the book. Just be small, you know, nuggets throughout the book.
Yep.
And just give us a bit more of that. And then his turnaround wouldn't feel so quick and wouldn't feel so out of place in my mind. Plus the mum, I found the mum quite strange, where she wasn't involved in the story. You just seen random panels of her in it at times.
You saw the end. It was flashing to the end all the time, wasn't it? And then you saw her with Atticus at the Christmas.
But that's what I mean. It didn't seem to, and it didn't seem to, I don't know, it just didn't seem to fit the ending. I mean, it was good and stuff with him, you know, him dying, being the big bad monster or whatever, but I just felt like that part, it left a bit of a tinge of disappointment. I don't know what I wanted instead, though. I just wanted a bit more of, like, snippets of him turning around earlier in the book, or at least having feelings about switching. But
Yeah, like maybe when he's shooting at his dad, he could have like missed, and someone could have said, "You never miss," and he could have been like, "Oh, he was moving too fast." Like just so you're like, well, he's obviously trying to miss him. He could have got him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly what I mean. Just give us the reader an idea, because it felt like the whole entire book, even to the point where he kind of faked his hostage video. Like you knew it was faked. Like you knew he's not really hostage. You know rightly, and there's no reason for you at any stage to believe that Atticus could switch. But give us those wee snippets, and you think maybe he could. And yeah, it may be obvious, but again, this is just a good action flick. Give us that. That's what we want. I'm ready for that. So yeah, just a few wee hints would have been nice.
Can we discuss the awesome twins that come back?
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna. This is what I was gonna bring up next. If there was a lull in conversation, I was gonna bring these up. So yeah, yes, we can, Shane, because I want to talk about them too. Go on. What did he want to say?
I wanted to say, I thought they were dead in the flashback. I just thought that was like, oh, this is one of his previous adventures. You don't expect them to come back, even though you see them on the gurneys. It looked like they were just dead bodies that they were wheeling away. And then you see them show back up, and like her brother's now her backpack because she's got no arms, and he's a backpack because he's got arms and no legs. But they kick the crap out of him. It was an awesome fight scene between the three of them.
Really great. Yeah, it was. And yeah, I'm totally with you. The first time I read this, turning that page and just seeing them like standing at a bar in that scenario where they're kind of, attached. I was like, what the hell? Like, how did they survive that? Because you see him, like, the guy has no legs and the woman has no arms. So how? And it was just there was in a massive explosion or something, wasn't it? It's mental. Really
it's really far-fetched. Obviously, it's ridiculous. It's not ever going to happen. But it was quite cool to see them. And you're right, when that fight scene in the tunnel, like they were kicking his ass and doing it really well. And even the fact that whenever they eventually died, that they couldn't you kill one of them, but the other one's still around and still fights for a little bit. Then he also gets killed. But it's just like the idea that like they were not easy to put down. 20 years or 30 years difference, whatever it was.
They were easier when they were two whole people.
Yeah. But they said that they'd been training because they knew this was coming up, so they'd been really like practicing and training for this kind of moment. But there was one particular panel or something where she was running at him, but then she kind of lunged and then spun round, so then the guy could either grab him or punch him or something. But I kind of love that. Like it shows you in that kind of panel where you're seeing all of the movement. And I love the bit then where they're fully turned around. So the man is facing Roland now, and his arms are outstretched. It looks like he's going to like rugby tackle him. I really like that kind of pose that was happening. It was awesome.
That's the thing for the artist. From the artist's perspective, it's quite clever because you could have just drawn the panel with the guy with the arms holding him and not have the kind of swing around, but they have to be a bit more clever than that to include the character. The character isn't just one person, it's two in one. You can't just have one side of it, so it's quite clever that they've done that. But I could be wrong. When did they get their injuries? Was it in the 90s?
Yeah.
But they didn't age too well, or they didn't age too badly, as I say. They looked the same. So were they held in some sort of like super soldier, I don't know, frozen for 30 years? You know what I mean? It's just
there's less of them to age, so they age slower.
That should mean the rest of what's left should age quicker because it's the same amount of aging and smaller body.
So can you imagine if she wakes up tired and she puts her brother on back to front and his arms are just like facing forward and she just has his big arms.
Oh man,
I just think again for what it is, surface level stuff. You don't need to know why they are as they are, but part of me always thinks that there should be a little bit more explanation. I don't know why.
4 issues.
Do we know why Jaws has like a big metal mouth?
I know.
Job has his throwing hat and
100%. I do
You've
get
got
what
the
you're saying,
gist.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know how they got to be in the condition they are, and you just have to know that they are still alive, and this is how they are now.
But that's what I meant. This book is made for that, like the surface level
Yeah.
book. You don't need to know it. But again,
No.
I think maybe we're just spoiled because we do go into it in depth more every week. That I do feel like could they have done some more? They definitely could with the Atticus story, but
Yeah, maybe.
and again, why were these young? I just want even give them grey hair. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just make them look older than what they are.
Yeah, I did think that they didn't age at all. They looked exactly the same,
Yeah.
unless they were like ridiculously young in the 90s, you know, like 17, 18, because maybe they were just like henchmen back then.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't pick up on that, but good point.
but they were so cool. Like,
So cool.
can you imagine that in live action? How cool that would look.
Yeah. I really hope, like, I don't know if everything that Mark Millar writes and Netflix have rights to, that it will be turned into a TV show or a film, but I really hope this is.
Yeah, this is the thing. For me, it fits in perfectly with the Netflix. If you think of the stuff Netflix have made, like the Ryan Reynolds and stuff,
Yeah.
and
Six Underground.
yeah,
Is that what-
exactly.
yeah.
They are kind of far fetched, nonsensical kind of action
Yeah.
movies that don't need depth. That's what a Netflix movie for me is. It's very rarely you get one where it's a real thinker, you know, and this fits perfectly into that model. So it makes me kind of think you would get that. You could easily get this in the movie. And I mean, really, really cool. You know?
Yeah, I mean, if Fast and Furious can get away with driving a car in space,
Yeah.
You know, then I think Netflix could get away with this as a movie.
Yeah. I mean, I've not watched that Fast and Furious film, but I will definitely watch
Spoilers,
this one.
sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I knew it happened, but I just have I don't think I've watched any since Tokyo Drift.
Oh my god!
But wait 18 more after that to go.
Yeah. Okay, catching up on the comments a bit. Connie is saying, Phil, you were really ruining a nice gift from a estranged father going on with the whole typewriter situation. It's supposed to be symbolic. And Connie also thinks that Atticus didn't deserve a redemption arc. Yeah, you're probably right there. Probably right. But I think seeing one is good to rile people up, I think. As readers, we can't always get what we want, and I think that was quite good. Go on.
I was just going to say, like, maybe he didn't even need a redemption arc. Maybe he could have shown up at the end, and the mother could have been like, "Oh, Atticus, you've come to say goodbye to your dad," and he could have said, "I'm not here for him. I'm here for you." That's not a redemption arc, but he's just there for his mum. Do you know what I mean?
Shot her.
Yeah.
And then shot.
But I mean, that's the thing. I was expecting him to kill his mum the whole time because he was a jackass. He wasn't a nice guy.
It would have been more interesting had she killed him on the boat, wouldn't it?
Yes, even better.
Yeah.
Here, mum, I'm here to say sorry. Nope.
No, you just see her. She puts the ashes on the boat, and she goes, "Oh, I forgot my bag in the car," and she walks back, and the boat explodes as she just walks away from the explosion.
Here's my take on it. She puts one pot of ashes down, says Roland King, puts another pot of ashes down, says Atticus King, and she's it's like a smoking gun. Martin has said, "You've got to enjoy this like an 80s action movie. Don't ask too many questions and enjoy the fun thrill ride."
100%.
Yeah, totally. As great as this book is, the unfortunate thing is that because there's only 4 issues, I feel like it's tough to find some more talking points. I'm pretty much done. If you guys are, we can go in final thoughts, or if you have anything else to say, we can talk about that.
I'm pretty tapped out.
Tapped out. Phil?
I mean, I suppose there are some characters you could touch on, like his friend. I can't forget his name.
Figgy.
Yeah.
Figgy Newton.
Like, yeah, that's the one. I just feel like I didn't expect him to be the bad guy at the end, like the one he wanted to blow up type of thing. I had this feeling that maybe he would be the one that would. I always assumed Atticus is going to be the main one he wants to kill, or like again, if it was a movie, that'd be the final showdown. I just thought Figgy might have been there to.
He didn't kill Figgy.
He blew them all up.
No, he blew the House of Parliament up.
Yeah.
Was Figgy not in it?
Figgy was in the building.
Another
with
building.
Atticus.
Across the road, like.
They watched it through the window.
Okay.
let's talk about the ending. Let's talk about. Clearly, we need to.
I don't
figure-
think Phil read the ending, so we should explain the ending to Phil. It's that part of the
yeah.
show where we explain the ending to Phil.
You're right. Sorry, apologies. No. I do remember now. I'm thinking to myself,
whatever.
Figgy killed Roland, and it was easy
Yes.
for him. I wish that had been harder, or else not
Yeah.
happened at all. Because I thought Figgy would have been one that would have helped him, and then maybe he met his end, type of thing.
I did think it was incredibly clever at the end to have, because like Roland was pretty much the kill switch, wasn't he? Like, because he died, the House of Parliament blew up. If he stayed alive, the House of Parliament wouldn't blow up. So it was this kind of like fail safe all along, a last like goodbye. This is my farewell gift to you. You did this because you killed me, kind of thing. I thought it was such a shock as well. Turning that page, seeing that, I was like, like, especially like being, British as well, and seeing that, you're like, Jesus, like that's mad.
Did you also stand up and give the book a standing ovation?
Bravo.
The thing is, like, the Roland death was obviously coming. We knew it was happening. What I did like was the panel, his last appearance with his head blown off, the eyeball lying out, but he was smiling, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, yeah, I win. I got you.
Gotcha.
I like that part.
Gotcha.
I just love the way he rocked up as well in his
He's
a soldier in his army uniform.
Yeah,
it's like that part in Dark Knight Rises, whenever the guy shows up in his dress clothes, to fight Bane in his army. It's the same kind of idea. I'm going to die. I know I am. I'm going to wear my best.
Yeah. And he just walks through and everyone parts like the Red Sea, and just like,
because they're all scared of him.
Yeah, all the guards are there, and he's like, no, he's got nothing on him apart from the clothes on his back. And you're like, how? Like, what triggered the explosion? That's all I kept thinking of. But yeah, really surprising but clever, and I want to say satisfying ending as well. To be honest, quite pleased with it. Phil, shaking your head there.
Yes and no. Again, it's just the Atticus stuff. The other stuff, yes, but the Atticus thing was a bit disappointing for me.
All right, okay. Well, I hope that's included in your score then. And we'll get over to that then, shall we? Let's do our final thoughts and scores. Everyone in the chat, let us know what you thought of the book. Give us a score out of 10. We'll add it all together and we'll add it to ours. I've already had a score from Kev, so I've got that noted down. But Phil, if you wouldn't mind giving us your thoughts.
Cool. So cool is the word we've used many times to describe this so far, and that is literally it. It was so cool. There's just a lot of stuff happened that was so cool. Even the stuff that I mentioned before, like shooting the guy through the bed, and like just the way they had certain moments through the book was so cool. And obviously, parachuting or jumping from the plane, blowing the plane up, surviving that some strange way, whatever. It's just totally far fetched. I think Martin said somewhere in the chat about, you're just in it for a fun thrill ride. It's like an old school action movie, and you're right. You don't need to look at depth. But that's why I said, like, this is obviously all surface level stuff, which is okay. It's just sometimes I think we're spoiled because we try to have to look into things more. Where this, you don't need to whatsoever. The Atticus thing kind of annoys me slightly because I wish we had maybe because I was expecting the final showdown to be them two fighting one another, and then maybe Atticus killed the dad, and maybe then that's his redemption until he realized he just killed his dad. He didn't really want to, type of thing.
Yeah.
And again, I mentioned before, had they had subtle hints throughout the book, I think as a reader you would have expected it, but I would have felt more whenever it actually happened. The turnaround happened. Art was great. Action scenes were great. Again, it's Jack Napier at times. It's Sean Gordon Murphy-esque art style. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Hopefully they make a movie on Netflix. I'll be there to watch it. And it's a popcorn comic. It's an action flick.
Popcorn comic.
Yeah, it's an 8 out of 10 for me.
Nice. Great. Awesome. Shane?
I bloody love this book. And if you give me 10 prequels, I will read them. I would 100% read his rise to being a spy all the way up to the beginning of this book. Just give me all the prequels. I want to read more Roland
Do you know
King.
what they should call it? Prince of Spies.
Oh my god. 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 is my score. Just change it now, please.
That would be. I'm down for it. I would definitely read more of him. I don't really want a sequel, so don't give me an Atticus sequel because I don't want to read that. I want the prequels with Roland being the badass that he is, because he's a fantastic character. I loved everything about this book. I loved the humor. I loved the art. I loved the character designs. I loved the action scenes. The twins were just fantastic, and it just made me feel like I was reading James Bond, who is now an old retired spy. Like, this could be James Bond. His codename could have been 007 and no one would blink an eye. This is perfect. I love this book, and when I finished reading it, I was just so happy that I'd read it, not knowing anything about it. I love this book. And even though there are a few nitpicks that Phil has brought up that I now agree with, I am going to lower my score slightly because it does make sense.
Sorry.
No, it makes perfect sense. I see the nitpicks now in hindsight. When I was reading it, I didn't. So my score was initially a 9.5, but I'm just going to go down to a 9 just for the nitpicks. But this is a fantastic book.
Oh. I'm actually really surprised. So we got 2 scores so far, and we've got the one from Kev. So anyone else watching, you've got a little bit of time left to give your score. This book was really, really cool. I'm so happy I've discovered it and found it and read it and loved it.
And shared it
with everyone to also love and enjoy. This guy was basically indestructible. He could, even when you thought he was down in that kind of tunnel scene, he mysteriously got, killed everyone straight away. And no matter what situation this guy was put up against, he could get through it and get out of it alive. And the only time, when he died, that was intentional. He let that happen. He made that happen. So smart, so skilled. I loved the whole relationship things, even though the relationships were failing. It was just really interesting to see that family dynamic, even though it was bad. And I thought just the motion in all of the action and the explosions and all that just looked fantastic. Really fun book. And even though this is my second time reading it now, I really do think I want to read it again in the future. I think I will come back to this. It's going to be a 9 from me. Nice. Really happy with that. So there we go. And Martin has said #so cool. So cool. Definitely our most used phrase today. So there we go. So we have got a few scores. So we've got Kevin's first. We had an 8.5 from Kevin. He sent that in earlier on. So thank you very much, Kev. Connie, I'm going to give it a 9. It was great for what it was, and I'm glad it was a one and done. Great. Thank you very much. Liam said, fantastic book for the most part. The end with Atticus was unneeded, as I have previously said, and I felt it took away from what the rest of the book achieved, but that is my only gripe. 8 out of 10. Thank you very much. And Martin said, I had a lot of fun reading this. Pure action with an 80s James Bond vibe. Pleased I read this before a Netflix movie gets made. It's an 8 from me. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So with all of those scores in, okay, so that gives you guys an average of 8.4. Good start. Adding that onto Phil's 8, Shane's 9, and my 9, that gives us a total of 8.6.
Good.
Nice.
Let's see where it goes on the leaderboard.
Ooh.
Second place. So close.
Nice.
So close. Just below Stray Dogs with 8.8 and just above Daredevil, Born Again with 8.3. I'm happy with that. I'm very happy with that. I was slowly going down the leaderboard, wasn't I? But now I've got back up there. So
did you have any books in the top 10 last season, Scott?
Woo.
I don't know, because now you have a good chance to get,
Wow.
The shade, man. Jeez.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
I don't know.
Probably not. Let's be honest.
Probably not. Yeah, thanks. So yeah, there we go. So Martin is surprised that it's come in second place, or shocked, or happy. I don't know. And
I'm
then
not
Liam is like,
surprised.
Liam has said, "Oh no, bye bye Guardians." That was his pick, the last
Oh,
pick he
no.
made. But there we go. So yeah, second place. I'm quite happy with that. Here's the rest of the leaderboard for you to look at as well. Most of my picks are there. But yeah, that's it. But now it's time for us to tell you what we've got coming up next week. And it's Shane's pick. Here we go. Here we go. So Shane, please tell the podcast listeners what we're reading next week.
Next week we are reading The Umbrella Academy Volume 1 from 2007.
Nice.
Dark Horse, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
Yep.
Right there.
Yes, really looking forward to that because I love the Netflix show. This is going to be one of the times I've watched a show before I've read the comics. I'm really interested
Nice.
to see the differences.
Nice. Awesome. Great. But that's not it. That's not all we've got coming up on the Nerd Herd channel. Tomorrow, as always, we've got Kevin's how to draw video. And this time, he's showing us how to draw some action, how to draw a fight scene. Yeah, how to draw that kind of
His little
movement.
character.
I know, it's so good. But yeah, how to draw that kind of, really actiony movement. He knows the words better than me. But
Motion, one might say.
yeah, the actiony fighty motion. But yes. Shane, is the quiz coming soon?
Yes, Monday. I've finished editing it. I just have a few little tweaks and then it will be released Monday at 9.
Brilliant. There we go. So we got the
channel.
Nerd Herd's Dawn of Comics quiz night coming up. And then I think that is all from us. So there we go. I'm glad. You've got a few people looking forward to that. So Liam has said, yes, wanted to read Umbrella Academy for a while. And Martin is saying, yes, cannot wait to read this. Yeah, there we go. So it should be another good week for the Nerd Herd. But that's it. So the only thing left for us to do now is get your waves up. See ya.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Love you.